Welcome back. Hey, I apologize. I took yesterday off from reading. Uh, I had a whole bunch of other stuff on my plate. So I'm getting back, and it's actually Thursday at night. So uh, I have my tea with my candy cane, Christmas candy cane, leftover Christmas candy cane inside. Um, I updated the Google Workspace. That's better than saying Google Drive, Google Files, and Google whatever. Okay, so let's get on with reading. And just to let you know, I'm not reading any of this in advance. And so as I read it, you are getting the actual responses that I would get naturally reading it for the first time. So bear with me. Sometimes that's why I trip over words and kind of get the reading a little bit backwards. So thanks for being patient, and let's go on. The second Tuesday, we talk about feeling sorry for yourself. I came back the next Tuesday, and for many Tuesdays that followed. I looked forward to these visits more than one would think, considering I was flying 700 miles to sit alongside a dying man. But I seemed to slip into a time warp when I visited Morrie, and I liked myself better when I was there. I was no longer rented I no longer rented a cellular phone for the rides from the airport. Let them wait, I told myself, mimicking Morrie. The newspaper situation in Detroit had not improved. In fact, it had grown increasingly insane, with nasty confrontations between picketers and replacement workers, people arrested, beaten, lying in the street in front of delivery trucks. In light of this, my visits with Morrie felt like a cleansing rinse of human kindness. We talked about life and we talked about love. We talked about one of Morrie's favorite subjects, compassion, and why our society had such a shortage of it. Before my third visit, I stopped at a market called Bread and Circus. I had seen their bags in Morrie's house and figured he must like the food there. And I loaded up with plastic containers from their fresh food takeaway, things like vermicelli with vegetables and carrot soup and baklava. When I entered Morrie's study, I lifted the bags as if I'd just robbed a bank. Food, man, I bellowed. Morrie rolled his eyes and smiled. Meanwhile, I looked for signs of the disease's progression. His fingers worked well enough to write with a pencil or hold up his glasses, but he could not lift his arms much higher than his chest. He was spending less and less time in the kitchen or living room and more in his study, where he had a large reclining chair set up with pillows, blankets, and specially cut pieces of foam rubber that held his feet and gave support to his withered legs. He kept a bell near his side, and when his head needed adjusting or he had to go on the commode, as he referred to it, he would shake the bell and Connie, Tony, Bertha, or Amy, his small army of home care workers, would come in. It wasn't easy for him to lift the bell, and he got frustrated when he couldn't make it work. I asked Morrie if he felt sorry for himself. Sometimes, in the mornings, he said, that's when I mourn. I feel around my body, I move my fingers and my hands, whatever I can still move, and I mourn what I've lost. I mourn the slow, insidious way in which I'm dying. But then I stop mourning. Just like that. I give myself a good cry if I need it, but then I concentrate on all the good things that are still in my life, on the people who are coming to see me, on the stories I'm going to hear, on you if it's Tuesday, because we're Tuesday people. I grinned. Tuesday people. Mitch, I don't allow myself any more self-pity than that. A little each morning, a few tears, and that's all. I thought about all the people I knew who spent many of their waking hours feeling sorry for themselves. How useful it would be to put a daily limit on self-pity. Just a few tearful minutes, then on with the day. And if Morrie could do it, with such a horrible disease, it's only horrible if you see it that way, Morrie said. It's horrible to watch my body slowly wilt away to nothing. But it's also wonderful because all the time I get to say goodbye. He smiled. Not everybody is so lucky. I studied him in his chair, unable to stand, to wash, to pull on his pants. Lucky? Did he really say lucky? Okay, tea. During a break, great time for tea, right? During a break, when Morrie had to use the bathroom, I leafed through the Boston newspaper that sat near his chair. There was a story about a small timber town where two teenage girls tortured and killed a 73-year-old woman who had befriended them. Then threw a party in his trailer home and showed off the corpse. There was another story about the upcoming trial of a straight man who killed a gay man after the latter had gone on a TV show and said that he had a crush on him. I put the paper away. Morrie was rolled back in, smiling, as always, and Connie went to lift him from the wheelchair to the recliner. You want me to do that? I asked. There was a momentary silence, and I'm not even sure why I offered, but Morrie looked at Connie and said, Can you show him how to do it? Sure, Connie said. Following her instructions, I leaned over, locked my forearms under Morrie's armpits, and hooked him toward me, as if lifting a large log from underneath. Then I straightened up, hoisted him as I rose. Normally, when you lift someone, you expect their arms to tighten around your grip, but Morrie could not do this. He was mostly dead weight, and I felt his head bounce softly on my shoulder and his body sag against me like a big, damp loaf. He softly groaned. I got you, I said. Hold him like that moved me in a way I cannot describe. I'm going to restate that. Holding him like that moved me in a way I cannot describe. except to say I felt the seeds of death inside his shriveling frame. And as I laid him in his chair, adjusting his head on the pillows, I had the coldest realization that our time was running out. And I had to do something. Flashback. It was my junior year, 1978, when disco and Rocky movies are the cultural rage. We are in an unusual sociology class at Brandeis, something Morrie calls group process. Each week, we study the ways in which the students in the group interact with one another, how they respond to anger, jealousy, attention. We are human lab rats. More often than not, someone ends up crying. I refer to it as the touchy-feely course. Morrie says I should be more open-minded. On this day, Morrie says he has an exercise for us to try. We are to stand facing away from our classmates and fall backward, relying on another student to catch us. Most of us are uncomfortable with this, and we cannot let go for more than a few inches before stopping ourselves. We laugh in embarrassment. Finally, one student, a thin, quiet, dark-haired girl, whom I noticed almost always wears bulky white fisherman sweaters, crosses her arms over her chest, closes her eyes, leans back, and does not flinch, like one of those Lipton tea commercials where the model splashes into the pool. For a moment, I am sure she is going to thump on the floor. At the last instant, her assigned partner grabs her head and shoulders, yanks her up harshly. "Whoa!" Several students yell. Some clap. Morrie finally smiles. "You see," he says to the girl, "you closed your eyes. That was the difference. Sometimes you cannot believe what you see. You have to believe what you feel. And if you are ever going to have other people trust you, you must feel that you can trust them too, even when you're in the dark, even when you're falling." The third Tuesday, we talk about regrets. The next Tuesday, I arrive with the normal bags of food: pasta with corn, potato salad, apple cobbler, and something else: a Sony tape recorder. "I want to remember what we talk about," I told Morrie. "I want to have your voice so I can listen to it, later. When I'm dead." "Don't say that," he laughed. "Mitch, I'm going to die, and sooner, not later." He regarded the new machine. "So big," he said. I felt intrusive, as reporters often do, and I began to think that a tape machine between two people who were supposedly friends was a foreign object, an artificial ear. With all the people clamoring for his time, perhaps I was trying to take too much away from these Tuesdays. "Listen," I said, picking up the recorder, "we don't have to use this. If it makes you uncomfortable." He stopped me, wagging a finger. Then hooked his glasses off his nose, letting them dangle on the string around his neck. He looked me square in the eye. "Put it down," he said. I put it down. "Mitch," he continued, softly now, "you don't understand. I want to tell you about my life. I want to tell you before I can't tell you anymore." His voice dropped to a whisper. "I want someone to hear my story. Will you?" I nodded. We sat quietly for a moment. "So," he said, "is it turned on?" Now, the truth is, that tape recorder was more than nostalgia. I was losing Morrie. We were all losing Morrie. His family, his friends, his ex-students, his fellow professors, his pals from the political discussion groups that he loved so much, his former dance partners, all of us. And I suppose tapes, like photographs and videos, are a desperate attempt to steal something from death's suitcase. But it was also becoming clear to me, though his courage, his humor, his patience, and his openness, that Morrie was looking at life from some very different place than anywhere else I knew. A healthier place, a more sensible place. And he was about to die. If some mystical clarity of thought came when you looked death in the eye, then I knew Morrie wanted to share it, and I wanted to remember it for as long as I could. The first time I saw Morrie on Nightline, I wondered what regrets he had once he knew his death was imminent. Did he lament lost friends? Would he have done much differently? Selfishly, I wondered if I were in his shoes, would I be consumed with sad thoughts, all that I had missed? I'm going to say that again. Selfishly, I wondered if I were in his shoes, would I be consumed with sad thoughts of all that I had missed? Would I regret the secrets I had kept hidden? When I mentioned this to Morrie, he nodded. It's what everyone worries about, isn't it? What if today were my last day on Earth?" He studied my face, and perhaps he saw an ambivalence about my own choices. I had this vision of me keeling over at my desk one day, halfway through a story, my editors snatching the copy even as the medics carried my body away. "Mitch," Morrie said. I shook my head and said nothing, but Morrie picked up on my hesitation. "Mitch," he said, "the culture doesn't encourage you to think about such things until you're about to die. We're so wrapped up with egotistical things, career, family, having enough money, meeting the mortgage, getting a new car, fixing the radiator when it leaks. We're involved in trillions of little acts just to keep going. So we don't get into the habit of standing back and looking at our lives and saying, is this all? Is this all I want? Is something missing?" He paused. You need someone to probe you in that direction. It just won't happen automatically. I knew what he was saying. We all need teachers in our lives. And mine was sitting in front of me. I'm not done yet. I'm just going to take a little bit of it. Fine, I figured. If I was to be the student, then I would be as good a student as I could be. On the plane ride home that day, I made a small list on a yellow legal pad, issues and questions that we all grapple with, from happiness to aging to having children to death. Of course, there are a million self-help books on these subjects, and plenty of cable TV shows, and $90 per hour consultation sessions. America had become a Persian bazaar of self-help. A bazaar, like a bazaar, not bizarre, like a bazaar, like a shop, a Persian bazaar. But there still seemed to be no clear answers. Do you take care of others or take care of your inner child? Return to traditional values or reject tradition as useless? Seek success or seek simplicity? Just say no or just do it? All I knew was this. Morrie, my old professor, wasn't in the self-help business. He was standing on the tracks, listening to death's locomotive whistle, and he was very clear about the important things in life. I wanted that clarity. Every confused and tortured soul I knew wanted that clarity. Ask me anything, Morrie always said. So I wrote this list. Death, fear, aging, greed, marriage, family, society, forgiveness, a meaningful life. The list was in my bag when I returned to West Newton for the fourth time, a Tuesday in late August when the air conditioning at the Logan Airport terminal was not working, and people fanned themselves and wiped sweat angrily from their foreheads, and every face I saw looked ready to kill somebody. Okay, back to flashback. It's a really quick one. By the start of my senior year, I have taken so many sociology classes. I am only a few credits shy of a degree. Morrie suggests I try an honors thesis. Me? I ask. What would I write? What interests you? He says. We bat it back and forth until we finally settle on, of all things, sports. I begin a year-long project on how football in America has become ritualistic, almost a religion, an opiate for the masses. I have no idea that this is training for my future career. I only know it gives me another once-a-week session with Morrie. And, with his help, by spring, I have a 112-page thesis, researched, footnoted, documented, and neatly bound in black leather. I show it to Morrie with the pride of a little leaguer rounding the bases on his first home run. Congratulations, Morrie says. I grin as he leafs through it, and I glance around his office. The shelves of books, the hardwood floor, the throw rug, the couch. I think to myself that I have sat just about everywhere there is to sit in this room. I don't know, Mitch, Morrie muses, adjusting his glasses as he reads. With work like this, we may have to get you back here for grad school. Yeah, right, I say. I snicker, but the idea is momentarily appealing. Part of me is scared of leaving school. Part of me wants to go desperately. Tension of opposites. I watch Morrie as he reads my thesis and wonder what the big world will be like out there. So, the challenge for today's reading would be to look at that list that he had made: death, fear, aging, all those. And next to each one, write a sentence or two about what thoughts you have on those, your present thoughts. And just for the heck of it, if you have a hard time thinking about your present thoughts, think about thoughts that you've had about these based on your exposure to them. You know, like if you've seen them on TV, you know, like the Jerry Springer show when they talk about aging or fear or family, you know, broken marriages, marriages that are on the rocks. I just want to give you enough to be able to call together some ideas to write about. And I will see you maybe this weekend. Yeah, I think this weekend I'll do another recording. So I'm going to take tomorrow, Friday, off, but I will be updating the Google Workspace with this assignment. So you can find it on there as well. Okay, we'll see you in a couple days. Be better, do better.